The sun is a transmuter of energy. And what happens is as the sun goes through a transformation, as the sun emits energy, it affects the planet. And what is happening right now, a part of the Great Awakening, so many people waking up to who they really are, to some of the shadow things that have been going on behind the scenes, a lot of this has to do with the energy increasing on the planet. And moving forward, there is said to be what is called a great solar flash, which has to do with the sun changing the consciousness of the planet, which has already been happening. But in this video, I'm going to show you my perspective as to this whole topic, what we can best do to prepare our own energy and to go through our own work so that we move through it in the easiest way possible, raise our own vibration, and go through the great awakening of remembering who we really are. Welcome back. Another video. My name is Aaron. I help people expand their consciousness by making spirituality practical and relatable, merging the two together. So in this video, I'm going to go a little bit deeper on understanding the Great Solar Flash. And it is something that I believe is happening right now on the planet, and I believe will continue to happen as time goes on. However, let me first off say this. First off, like I was saying earlier, there is the sun. If you remember back in the early days, the Egyptians would worship the sun. What the sun represents, I believe, and if you've read the books called The Law of One, it talks about this. There are different, it's called the logos that talked about the Law of One, and the sun represents in a form of our higher self. All of us on the planet are connected. The sun, as esoteric as this may sound, these books go very deep in understanding that the sun is a consciousness of itself, is a being in itself, just like the earth is a being in herself that carries a certain energy. And as we are connected to the earth, and as the earth changes, it affects our own energy as well. Now, from the research that I've done through studying the Law of One, through studying Dolores Cannon's materials, through hearing some of the information from someone like Corey Good, who's talked a little bit about this Great Solar Flash, and also about just different things that he learned while he was in what's called the SSP. I've come to piece together some of my own perspective on this. Now, like I say, do your own research on this, see what resonates, and go within for this as well. But what I have learned about this process is that the sun is emitting out energy that then affects the planet. Now what's happening is we are going through what is called the Great Awakening right now, where more people are waking up than ever before. We're also moving into a whole new era. We're moving and closing out the cycle of one era that lasted 10 to 20,000 years. And that we're now moving into a completely new era. That's why right now on the planet, there's so much stuff that's breaking down. Old ways of going about things, old power dynamics. And it's because now we're moving into a higher level of consciousness. Now, this will sound kind of esoteric, but they say that back in Atlantean times, there was Atlantis, there was Lemuria, which coexisted and overlapped for a while. There was, in a way, a fall of consciousness. The Atlanteans had a intention of really learning a lot about the external world, technology, and what happened is that then it caused the civilization to pretty much crumble, and it in a way destroyed itself. And it was a very strong period of learning about the ego and individuality, and a lot of the abilities and the kind of things that we were able to do back in those days began to go away because we fell in consciousness. And what's happening right now on the planet is we are revisiting that energy. It all exists now as well. This is what quantum physics shows us. It's more so that's a parallel version of us. Many of us may have connections to that, by the way, as well. Maybe that resonates with you. Now what's happening though is we are reliving and going through and learning more about technology. We have the opportunity to go in a positive timeline rather than the negative timeline like we chose back in Atlantis times, in that parallel connection that we have. So there's a lot of things overlapping right now. And I know that sounds maybe a little bit different than what you expected me to say when we were just talking about the solar flash, but I kind of wanted to throw that in there as well. And the perspective that I have with this whole process is we are now coming into this new era, and our consciousness on the planet is changing. Now, one of the things that's happening though is the sun releases what are called CMEs, powerful explosions of energy that come towards the earth that then change that of the earth. And there's people that and technology that can measure this on the CMEs, the impact that it has on earth. And what is happening is as these light codes go off, and think about it, the sun is also a replicator of energy. The sun can go onto the grass and give it the phytonutrients and have it grow. The sun can charge us with energy. The sun's a very powerful replicator of energy. Now what happens is as the sun releases this energy, it has an effect on the planet. Now, what is happening right now is we are going through the universe as well. Now, this is we think, when I was in like 7th grade, I think I took earth science or something, and they show that the sun, or the earth, revolves around the sun. And we have all these other planets. Now, it's not just that the earth revolves around the sun and we stay stationary in the universe. We are actually moving. As the sun, the earth moves around it, it is also moving through that of the universe, of the galaxy. Now, what is happening is as we move through this galaxy, we are moving into different energies. And these energies that we are moving towards and moving through have an effect on our own consciousness. So as it has an effect on our consciousness, it is having us go through different processes. Now, something that I've read through, whether that be the Law of One, talking about how the sun affects our planet and how it's a part of, it's a being in it itself. It's macrocosm, microcosm. That's really what it is. Just like we have cells within our body that we may not be aware of, we are like the cells on Mother Gaia, on this beautiful planet. And what happens is, then it's all the macrocosm, and then we are also revolving around the sun, and the sun's revolving around a bigger sun, and that's a part of the macrocosm, microcosm. Now, what is happening is, and what I believe is happening, is the Great Solar Flash is said that it is something that will happen from 2025 to 2030. Now, here's the thing. There are solar flashes, from what I've learned, and I've also learned this from hearing Corey Good talk about this, by the way, who's like what we call a whistleblower. There are solar flashes that will happen until then. And these solar flashes have an effect on the consciousness, have an effect on people waking up. Maybe you notice that there's so many people waking up on the planet with everything going on right now. And what happens with these solar flashes is it has an effect on our own energy fields. And it's waking us up to more and more of who we are. Now, leading up to the Great Solar Flash, which the idea is there may be this big pulsation of energy, which I believe also may release certain memories of us. We've been living in a little bit of a box, maybe a lot of a bit of a box, in our own lives of what our abilities are, what we are capable of. And what if there was certain energies that could come through, which we call these solar flashes, that then affected our own consciousness to where it unlocked certain memories about us, that had us remember that we are much more vast than this ego avatar. And what if, by us becoming more aware of this, it unlocks certain abilities and certain intuitive abilities within us, certain levels of alignment within us that we maybe just prior were not aware of. I believe that, from what the work of Dolores Cannon talks about, even the Law of One, and other materials, every night when we go to bed, we awake to these higher states of consciousness. But when we awaken here, we normally forget 99.9% of it. Beyond just dreaming, by the way, we may be actually consciously aware in higher states of consciousness, but every night we wake up in the morning, we forget this. And part of the purpose is it may not be completely relevant for us at this point because it'll take us away from our current mission. Maybe in the higher realms, maybe things are so blissful and so positive that we come here and there's less desire to be in the craziness of the chaos that's going on in the world. However, I believe that's what's happening is as the energy comes from the planet, these solar flashes happen, which I believe are happening every year. What happens is it'll lead up to a great solar flash, which then has the ability to literally upgrade our consciousness and unlock certain memories within us, certain abilities that we may have that are dormant, maybe even has an effect on the DNA. We've heard that a lot of our DNA is dormant. Yet it exists, it's just that it's not necessarily activated. So what I think is happening is these great, and here's another thing as well, is I believe that we're upgrading our level of consciousness, but also what the Law of One talks about is we are moving from a 3D level of consciousness into a 4D level of consciousness. 3D level of consciousness was all about form, control, ego, individuality, personal power, that of the solar plexus. Think about it, the great solar flash. Isn't it ironic that the sun is yellow? Whitish yellow, They say back in the day that we remember when I was in the 90s when I was growing up, it's like, oh, the sun was yellow. The sun's kind of white now. Isn't that crazy? It's like the sun is transformed as we're transforming. Now, solar flash, the sun is in a way connected to the solar plexus. Now, what if as we move from third density to fourth density, we begin to embody a new type of energy? The fourth density is all about the heart. We're moving from the solar plexus into the heart. Doesn't mean we don't have, we carry with us an integration of all the levels below it. However, the heart is all about connection, unity consciousness, understanding who we really are. It is the one. We're understanding that we're all part of the one. And this is all about vibration. This is also about reality becomes much more dreamlike. I believe that that is happening right now on the planet. Now the problem, and the thing with this is that I believe there are people on the planet that do understand about this, that try to control and to keep people in fear and anger, because then they're much more easily able to be controlled. And these people are doing anything they can to halt that process, including putting certain type of technology in the planet that maybe has an effect on consciousness. And by doing that, it then keeps people from waking up. But I believe that we are waking up at such a grand rate that we have the power. We outnumber them billions to one. That's crazy. Not billions to one, but you get the idea, millions to one. So, what it is said and what I've heard Corey Good also talk about is that we've been moving for years through what is called solar minimum, which is a certain part of the galaxy that we're moving through that has a certain level of energy. And in about 2025 to 2030, we move through a very, very, very highly charged part of the solar system, or the galaxy, the solar system, that then has to do with extreme transformation. And that's when it could be affecting the sun to where it could be letting out so much different types of energy that affects the consciousness on the planet, the people, and Mother Gaia herself. So this is something that I believe is happening as we move from third density to fourth density. As we make this transition, here's the thing to remember too. I do not believe that some people will be left behind. I think that is an old, outdated way of looking at it. We're all eternal spiritual beings regardless. However, I believe that we came here to go through this process in mass. So, I don't think it's like some people are going to be left behind and some people are going to be further ahead. I think there might be kind of like pockets of energy, like bubbles, like certain potentials of growth, but that we're all kind of in it together. So it's not like you got to worry about your dog. It's like you don't have to worry about your grandma getting left behind, your dog getting left behind, and all of that. I don't think that that's the case. I think that we are all in this together, and we agreed to go through this in a mass form. I believe in 2012 there were a lot of people that were feeling like there'd be some crazy transformation on the planet. And what happened is it was interpreted as to be some like literal physical thing immediately. But now what's happening is it's interesting because now here we are in 2020, and I believe that a lot of that stuff is actually happening now. It is causing so many people to wake up. However, the other side of that is there's people that want to halt that process, because as the people wake up more and more through the solar flashes and all of this, they're becoming more aware and they're less easily able to be controlled because they're also upgrading their consciousness. So this is something that I believe will continue to happen. This is something that I think is very powerful. And if you want more information on this, that episode that I was talking about is on Gaia. If you go to Gaia.com, Gaia.com/Aaron, Aaron, that episode should be there still. I don't know if it still is, but also you can check out Gaia. There's a so-called cosmic disclosure, which has a lot of this information that I've learned. It's a really cool show as well, from people that are what are called whistleblowers that have been part of things, and a lot of what they say links up to other people that have also been in it. So you can check that out. Go to Gaia.com/Aaron, Aaron. You can also get a 2-week free trial. You can binge watch as much of those videos as you want. It's also really cool. It's kind of like the Netflix of spirituality in a way. But yeah, you can check that out. You'll see more on the Great Solar Flash as well on that page. I think it's a free episode that you can watch for more on it, to see kind of where I learned and talked about some of this here. And then some of it's from the Law of One as well. But other than that, subscribe if you haven't already. Like this video if you could like it. And as always, I'll see you on the next video. Peace, much love, and namaste.